The movie was incredible.
Just jumping, just had me, rocking on my seat,
It was an experience of a lifetime.
It was cute. It was way cute.
I loved it. It was brilliant. It was really good.
I recommend it. It's a tearjerker.
I think everybody should see this movie.
Hey guys, welcome to an exclusive episode of Real Reactions. I'm Omi Rowland, and today I'm sitting here with New York Times bestselling author, most importantly Emerson alumni, and writer and producer Seth Grahame-Smith. Thank you for sitting with us today.
Nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
How's it being back on the old stomping around the old campus?
It is, it's strange being here. First of all, not only because it's 75 degrees outside today, and I never remember it being even remotely this warm when I was here, but because the school is so much bigger and better and technically advanced and cooler than it was when I was here in the 90s.
But now you're used to bigger and better. I mean, like I said, you're a New York Times bestselling author twice, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. How does it feel like being on such a prestigious list with people like Shakespeare, Tolkien, Justin Bieber?
Oh my God, that's the most dangerous question I've ever been asked in my life.
Yes, that's what we're going for.
I'm not on any prestigious list whatsoever, other than New York Times bestseller list. There have been plenty of books on the New York Times bestseller list that I'm sure would never be compared to Shakespeare or even Justin Bieber for that matter.
Right.
Obviously,
Snooki.
Yeah, exactly. So I probably have more in common with Snooki than I do certainly with William Shakespeare. But this is getting so weird. I'm thrilled about how the books have done. I have a new book coming out soon. I hope it'll do well. I'm thrilled that at least one of the books is coming out as a movie. It's a very exciting time. It's a very sort of anxious time, wondering how all these things will do.
You just brought up that one of them is being turned to a movie, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. That's extremely exciting. But when you read the book, besides the vampire part, it's pretty historically accurate.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I believe is the more absurd your premise is, the more sincere your delivery should be on the premise. So, the idea of Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter is ridiculous. It's absurd. But I wanted to do it in a very straightforward way. I wanted to never blink at the reader and sort of say, oh, this is just a joke, we're doing it in a kind of Mel Brooks kind of way. No, I wanted to play it as straight and as dark and even weirdly as historically accurate as possible. And the film, luckily, the film does the same thing. It takes the ridiculous premise, but the joke ends at the end of the title. And the way that we do the film is very straightforward, very unflinching, very muscular.
You're kind of spearheading this mashup genre, which is taking stories that have already been told and putting a fresh spin on them. Is this the genre that's going to save us from movies like Monopoly the movie and Battleship the movie?
Well, first of all, I get some of the credit for the mashup thing, but mashups have been around forever in a weird way. I mean, what is West Side Story but a mashup of Romeo and Juliet,
Street Fighter.
Street Fighter, yeah, exactly. No, not Street Fighter, but or an updating or finding some new way. And you look at Gregory Maguire did with the Wicked books, finding a new way into Oz and telling a story from a different perspective. I mean, it's been around for a long time. Now, in terms of, I don't know that I want to be the mashup guy forever. I think that I have different ambitions in terms of the types of stories I want to tell in books and in movies. With each book, I think I'm going to move a little bit further out into original material territory. But I'm always going to write about, genre ideas. I'm always going to write weird, big, bloody, things that interest me in the space of, whether they be horror or science fiction. In terms of, is this going to save Hollywood? I don't know. I'll tell you after the summer's over.
Yeah, time will tell.
I guess so. We'll see how Lincoln does. I mean, But it's funny. It's like Hollywood is. I think for 110 years has been on the verge of being out of ideas in terms of, depending on who you ask. I mean, probably in screenwriting classes they teach that there are only about 6 ideas anyway, and we're all sort of coming up with different ways to tell the same, stories over and over again, whether they be Hasbro stories or whether they be, mashup stories or.
Another one of you called it a bizarre combination, is Pride and Prejudice and zombies. I mean, I would never think of that. How did that idea come to you?
That came from an editor who wanted to do something strange and irreverent to a public domain title, mainly because the small publishing company that we were doing it for couldn't afford the rights to any story that they would have had to pay for. So, this this editor made lists of, on one side would say like, Jane Eyre and or Candide or all of these Dante's Inferno and or Divine Comedy rather, and then on the other side like pirates and mummies and ninjas and things like that. And Pride and Prejudice and zombies just seemed like the weirdest combination. And when I read the actual Jane Austen book, I was struck by how many opportunities in the story, the original story, there were to sort of graft this genre treatment onto it. And it just seemed like it was always meant to be in a weird way.
You mentioned earlier you have a new book coming out. I think it's in April, on Holy Night. Mm-hmm. My biggest question is, are you ready to rumble with the Westboro Baptist Church?
Oh, bring on the Westboro Baptist Church. They're the easy, they think I'm going to hell already for a number of reasons. Weirdly, the book is, the one thing that worries me most about Unholy Night is that people are going to see it as a little too like pro-faith, a little too like.
It is, for those who don't know, kind of a retelling of the story of the 3 wise men.
It is. It's the story of the 3 wise men and how one of them in particular sort of finds his way and finds his faith in the process of becoming tangentially involved in saving this infant from King Herod's troops, and escaping to Egypt. It's got all the darkness and all of the genre stuff that people would expect, I think, from having read Lincoln. But ultimately, why I'm not worried about any controversy or anything is because it has a very positive message. And, I set out to write a book that wasn't going to ruffle anyone's feathers in terms of, pre-existing faith or any faith for that matter.
A lot of book fans are never happy with the movie adaptation of their favorite stories. Now with Abe Lincoln, you had the chance to adapt your own book into a screenplay. Mm-hmm. Was that a relief for you, or was that much added pressure?
It was a lot of added pressure because, I had to check my ego at the door. I had to kill my darlings, and I knew that going in. I knew that when you're writing a book, you are the dictator. It's your baby. But when you're making a film as a screenwriter, it's a director's medium, and you have to sort of surrender to the director's singular vision for the film. And so one of the things that I sort of came to grips with early on was, okay, you have to put your ego aside and just slash and burn what needs to go. And there were some easy things to get rid of, but there were also, interestingly enough, some things that we discovered along the way, like the fact that my book didn't have a central villain, vampire villain, which was kind of a problem for a movie. The fact that my book didn't have any sort of central climax or build to any real, final set piece, which again is a problem when you're making a summer movie. So, those things were sort of natural to add, and there were little avenues of the book that I missed, but I think the important thing is that the tone of the book is consistent with the tone of the movie, and the ideals and the character of Lincoln and his motives and his ideals are consistent with that of the book too. Hi, I'm Seth Grahame-Smith, class of '98. I wrote this and some other stuff, and you are watching the Emerson Channel.